Hello and welcome to Constellation League, a Warhammer podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott.
And I'm Paul.
And this week, not to bury the lead, because you've probably already seen the episode title, we're talking Kill Team.
It's all about Kill Team. Yeah, this is Scott's episode. So grab your coffees, clean your brushes if you're painting and listening.
Yep. This is my new favorite way of playing 40K, not to
This
bury
is
the lead.
your this is your new way of playing Warhammer, period.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
this is kind of the new thing. But before we get into that, we've got a little bit of an announcement that we wanted to make.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we came out of the gate in the fall, kind of being really aggressive, doing an episode a week kind of thing. But you know, for better or for worse, Scott's going back to school. And so our release schedule is going to be a little bit more sporadic. We'll probably try for every 2 weeks getting an episode out.
hmm
Might be less, might be more. Just as Scott's tackling a new, I guess, an old part of life,
Yeah.
getting back to the books.
Getting back to the
Uh,
books, trying to better myself a little bit, or
yeah.
get some letters behind my name.
Yeah, yeah. Add some letters to the end of your name. Titles. I need titles.
Titles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. And unfortunately, no, it's not a Warhammer University. It's not GW College or
Sadly,
anything
that
like
would
that.
be
It's
awesome.
he hasn't signed up for Vanguard Tactics,
Yeah.
whatever it is they
Turn
do.
into I was really trying to become an inquisitorial agent, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be an official title anywhere.
No. No. So
Oh,
yeah. So
someday.
the Kill Team episode.
Kill
This is
team.
it. We've been nattering away about this for a little while,
hmm
and you've recently finished a tournament
Yep. Took part in
and
a
your
league.
league.
Yep.
Yep.
So season
So,
one of the league is done. The big cap off to that was a tournament at the very end, which was
mhm.
a hell of a lot of fun. And I'll take a step back and kind of talk a little bit about what's been on the go. So 40K is a lot of fun, and it's
Mhm.
still a game that I like to play.
Mhm.
But with everything that's changing and getting my son involved into it, or my kids involved into Warhammer, I kind of wanted to get into a quicker turnaround game, a
Mhm.
game that doesn't require a 4 hour, kind of investment from
Mhm.
noobs and that kind of thing.
And
Um,
doesn't require, about $2,000 to build up
yes.
a 2,000 point army.
Yeah, like something
Yeah.
that's a cheaper point of
Mhm.
entry across the board from
Mhm.
a hobbying standpoint to the gaming standpoint of things. So I had introduced the concept of kill team as just a base concept. So a skirmish game to get in, play a game in about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you're really taking your time. But an hour and a half is kind of the max that you'd really spend on the game.
Mhm.
Once you get going, it's a really fast game. Took it to my kids. One of them is just interested in kind of building, maybe painting some of the stuff. The other
Mhm.
one was down to play. So we signed up for the league and we bought a starter set
Mhm.
and I took the Angels of Death component, so the core Space Marines, kind of the Ultramarine type of idea.
Yeah, and these are
And
the Warhammer Heroes models, right?
um, no,
I
not
th Well,
not
I know the Death
necessarily.
Guard side of it is the
The
is the
Death Guard
Warhammer
side
Heroes.
is probably is the Space Marine part. You could probably get away with just downloading the Kill Team app from whatever app store you use
Hmm.
and using some existing models to build your Angels of Death that way.
Okay.
I wouldn't say the starter set is required for the Angels of Death. The starter set is required for the Plague Marines, which is what Sam started to play. It's a much more kind of concise list. You
Hmm.
get 7 models, of which you can play 6 at any time. So it's not one that you can just get I mean, I suppose you could, so long as your opponent knows like you could get your Plague Marine army or even maybe some Death Shroud or something like that and say this one is going to proxy as this guy. But your opponent would really need to know who's playing as what, in order to do that. And which is again the best thing. One of the best things about Kill Team is you do need the boxes in order to play, but you can proxy some of what you've already got. If you've got an existing Space Marine army, you can
Mm,
play Angels of Death. If you've got an existing Gene Stealers army, you can probably play one of their factions or one of
mm,
their kill teams. And it kind of goes through that same thing. Like Eldari, there's different, like the Blades of Cain have Dire Avengers, Scorpions, and I think Howling Banshees. So if you've got some of those, you could probably make a kill team.
okay.
So there's different ways to kind of get into the game. The barrier of entry is a lot lower because you only
Hmm.
need roughly 10 models, depending on your army. Anyway, that's kind of what the whole catalyst was of getting into this kind of branch of the game.
Okay.
And once we started playing, it was just so much fun because it's such an immediate reaction to your opponent.
Hmm.
You set up your board. It's I think 22 by 30, so it's a
Hmm.
it's a much
Coffee
smaller
table.
board.
Yep.
Coffee table. You can sit at your kitchen table and easily
Hmm.
play this game. You don't even have to stand up. You can literally play the whole game sitting down.
Was that a
Um,
selling point? Not
it's
having to
not as
stand?
I don't want to say I'm lazy, but if I don't have to move, I'm not going to. Um, it definitely makes having a little snack while we're at a place like Critical Hit a lot easier.
Hmm.
Just sit there, have your coffee, have a drink, have whatever
Yep.
you want to eat and play. Um, but anyway, so it's a much smaller board, and it is just that you've got so just to kind of do a kind of not a how to play, but kind of what are the mechanics of the game.
Sure.
Every model has an APL, an action point limit.
Hmm.
Um, and they refer to some as elites, and then you've got your kind of core armies. Elites are the roughly the armies that are kind of like six models,
Hmm.
have a high wound count. So like a Space Marine has 14 wounds,
Okay.
three action points that they can do, and a 3-up save. So anytime they can do a move, they can do a shoot, they can shoot twice, they can do a movement, a quick dash and a shoot. They can do their charge, fight, dash. Like they've got different things that they can do, which is the interesting thing about playing an elite army. And I'll get into some of the gotchas of playing an elite army in a little bit.
Okay.
But that's how it starts. You've got your APL, so how many actions your guy can do once you turn him on, once you
Hmm.
activate him and decide I'm going to do something with this model. So you've either got 2 to 3 things depending on kind of what your kill team is.
Okay.
And then you've got your saves. And every team or every model can roll 3 dice for your save. And a lot of teams have elites have like a three, typically a 3-up save, so
Hmm.
threes and higher. Some other teams have a 4, and some other teams have a 5-up save, so it gets
Hmm.
a little tricky for them. Um, and then you've got your wound count. And now, as I said, elites are usually in the well over 10 plus wounds per model.
Okay.
Some of the other teams, like some GSC, Kroot, my Salvagers, which I'm currently playing, they range in the 7 to 9 kind of wound range. And
Okay.
just to put things into perspective, a bolter can do a base of 3 damage,
Hmm.
or if you roll sixes and get a crit, it can do 4 to 5, depending on kind of what the other thing is. So,
Yeah,
re-
I'm looking at the app as we speak, and I'm just sort of thumbing through some of the data cards so I can follow along.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where if you get a good round of shooting from your elite armies, you're basically
Hmm.
just picking up the other team's models in one round of
Right.
shooting. Because you're automatically hitting, and sometimes you're hitting on fours as your regular hit, and then fives as your critical. So you get 2 hits if they fail their saves, and with a 4 or 5-up save, that's kind of you got a 50% or less chance of rolling for success.
Hmm.
You're losing models and some of those things. So it's a real immediate response to okay, what is my new tactic going to be? What is my new strategy? How am I going to trade off units? At what point am I willing to trade this model to get, somebody out of line of sight or to change them from a what is referred to as a concealed engage
Hmm.
activation or an activated, a ready kind of state. And on conceal, it means that they can get the benefits of cover. You can't shoot them if they're behind certain terrain and different things like that. Whereas if they're activated and have been shooting,
Hmm.
you know, they might still get the benefit of cover, but by and large, they're just a free valid target to be shooting at. So that's kind of what's been really fun about it is
Hmm.
you're setting up the game, and I'm still learning all of these things, and I'll probably give some tips on not necessarily how I play, but how I should be playing. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Or better yet, better maybe how not to play.
yeah, yeah, some
That's
some
really what we're best at the Constellation League is telling people this is
don't
how we did it, so don't do
don't do
this.
that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's been a lot of fun that way. So I started out playing in season one of our league out at Critical Hit, and as everybody
Hmm.
knows that listens, we're huge fans of Critical Hit. We're huge fans of
Yeah.
Kingston Gaming Nexus.
Hmm.
If either of those have a kill team tournament league, you know, scene, join it
Yep.
and check it out and kind of roll into it. As I say, Kill Team is has a really low barrier of entry. If you've got somewhere to play and they've got the terrain and everything like that, all you really need is like a $60 to $70 box of models, and away you go. It can get you started. Or if you've
Hmm.
got some existing models that you can proxy, like I said for Space Marines or something like that, you're good to go. All you
Right.
need is a sergeant or a captain, and then five other models, and you can get going.
Right.
So it's a real easy kind of thing to get into. Um, but I started playing in our league, as I said, the Angels of Death.
Hmm.
So 14 wounds, three activations, three up saves. They're a real pain in the ass to deal with. Anything that is a Space Marine that has the Astartes rule because they get a free, or they don't get a free, they can shoot twice. It doesn't matter how many activation points you've got. You can only do one action kind of once. So normally you can't shoot twice, even if you've got two action points left, two
Hmm.
APL. They have to be different. But because of this Astartes rule, they're able to do this. So which was the thing that I kind of enjoyed as I was learning the game.
Hmm.
It's something that I feel I have spoiled myself with as I've moved on to another army. And now I have to live with a lower APL count, lower movement, lower wounds on them. It's luckily still a good save on them, but it's one of those things where you get lulled into this false sense of security of like, okay, I've got 2 rounds of shooting I can do into this guy.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, if you change your army, you don't necessarily have that. So you're really like, okay, what is my plan if I don't knock this guy out in all the shooting?
Mm.
What if my dice rolls just go to complete shit on
What
this?
is the meta with Kill Team right now? Like, what is like kind of the top two, maybe top three kill teams?
The top two or top three kind of kill teams. So there's some, ironically, I find the meta lists that they're making aren't really reflective of how good the teams are.
Mm.
But usually, I think right now, they've got like Nemesis Claw, which is the Night Lords, is
Hmm.
doing really well. Legionaries were doing really well. I think they're on like the top A or S tiers in a lot of the lists.
Hmm.
Felgor Ravagers right now are doing really well, which are
Hmm.
the Beastmen, Chaos
Yeah.
Beastmen, basically. They've been doing well, and I think a couple of the Eldari are kind of up there as well as things to really watch out for, which is makes sense because they're also kind of the boogeyman in regular 40K. They're glass cannons. They can do a hell of a lot of damage if you hit them. They're toast.
Hmm.
But they've got the shoot and scoot type of things that they can
Right.
do, which is a total pain in the ass.
Now, in Kill Team, there's no points, right? Like you
No,
don't
there are
build your own
points.
lists. Oh, there are points.
Well, not in. Sorry. In building your list, you're given a kind of very finite operative selection that you can go with. So
Like what?
your
Like
list
two
has to
assault
have,
guys?
in most cases, it's like you have to have a sergeant, a captain, something like that,
Hmm.
your lead model. And then you're going to have some specialized agents, and they've typically got a list. So if you're in an art, let's say it's the Space Marines that we're talking about, Angels of Death,
Hmm.
you can either have a captain, an intercessor sergeant, or an assault intercessor sergeant. Those are the three that you get to choose from. And then
Okay.
from there, you can have a heavy gunner, a sniper, but
Okay.
you can't take a heavy gunner and a sniper. It's one or the other. You can have a regular intercessor gunner. You can have a grenadier, which is just your guy that throws grenades like there's no tomorrow. And then you've got your assault intercessors or your regular intercessors that you can go with. And I'm probably missing one other character. And typically the warrior types, like your regular intercessors or your assault intercessors, you can take
Hmm.
more than one of. So you can round out, you could do an entire list of an assault intercessor sergeant and
Hmm.
then five assault intercessors if you
How does that
wanted.
translate to something like mandrakes?
Mandrakes has a set group that it can take. It does not get any leniency that way. Well, again, you can have more than one of your regular warriors, but there
Hmm.
are there's four, I think it is, specialized guys after your kind of sergeant that you can take. And then I think it's another four warriors type of thing. You could go all warriors, but then you're
Hmm.
missing out on the special rules that these other guys kind of give you, the little buffs that they give to the team and the special gotchas that they can kind of have. So that's really what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a team that is tailored to the way you want to play the game or how you need to play the map that you're going to be playing.
Hmm.
And this is the thing that I'm still kind of working my way
Figuring out.
through is
Right.
okay, it's just as complicated as 40K because you've still got guys and it's like okay, this guy has two special rules. This guy has two special rules. This guy has
Hmm.
two special rules.
Right.
And it's remembering who's doing what at what time and
Hmm.
which ones are your priority, which ones are the ones you really want to keep around, which ones are nice to have, which ones a need to have for how you want to do things. Like mandrakes have this really cool rule where they can teleport around the map.
Hmm.
And one of their guys leaves a token behind that lets other people do that teleportation. Normally it's one model per turn and that's it.
Okay.
If he's left his little teleportation thing and you're within range of it, you can use that rule and do it regardless of this limit of one
As
per.
their opponent. As their opponent?
No, as their movement type of
Oh.
thing.
So the opponent doesn't get to use the benefit of the
No,
teleportation. It's
no, it's
the okay.
only the mandrakes themselves, and they're a really cool team.
Okay.
They're a very complicated team to kind of play, I think.
Okay.
Um,
So you played Space Marines
played
throughout the league.
throughout the
And where
league
did you finish in the league
sixth
out of 16?
out of I believe it was 14. Then we had a couple
Or there are
people
a couple
drop.
drops. So pretty good.
Yeah, I
That's
did pretty well. I
I
was
think
really
that's
happy
pretty
with
good.
myself,
And then you and I were texting
and
leading up to the tournament,
I did the thing that I shouldn't have done,
which is
which is change armies to go into
yeah.
the tournament. But I wanted to play my space dwarves. I wanted to play the Leagues of Votan. So I picked up a box of salvagers and I was like, you know what? I'm going to play them.
Oh,
They,
you didn't even play your Jaegers?
I didn't play the Jaegers. I played the salvagers.
Oh,
So
okay.
the salvagers have the core Votan rule of handing out judgment tokens.
Okay.
They can hand out grudge tokens to people.
Yeah.
Um, and I did my reading on them, and they're a really good team. And most of the games that I played, I lost every game that I played in the tournament.
Oh, you spoiled the
I'm not going to bury that one. I came in, I think, second last in the entire tournament, but it all came down to some of it was I played my tac op wrong, and this is the other thing. So
Well,
in
okay, to be fair, how many practice games did you have with them before the tournament?
I think Sam and I played against Sam in house. He and I played because he was switching to the Kroot army from his Plague Marines.
Was it just one?
We played two,
You had
but
two
I mean,
practice
it's
games.
still, it wasn't necessarily,
You played
uh,
Space Marines the entire time,
came in
and
sixth and then swapped over to a completely different team and came in next
and
to
played two
last.
games, and then it came
Yeah.
in the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. Without knowing exactly how all my team works.
You know, you
Um,
won't actually be kicked off the podcast if you actually win a tournament. You know, that's not like gonna
you
actually
and I
happen.
mean, you'd think I'm actively trying to lose
You,
based on
I,
everything I'm
when
doing.
when we texted about this, I was like,
Don't do that.
because you were thinking of doing mandrakes, I think it
I
was when
was
we were
thinking of doing
texting.
mandrakes and
And
I'll,
then I followed up with you, I think maybe the night before the tournament or the day, and then you were like, you're doing Votan, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
yeah.
I'm like, you placed well, you did well in the league,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? For us,
Yep.
that's finishing in the top third or whatever is great. Top half is just like unprecedented.
Hmm.
So I was like, why the hell are you switching kill teams? I thought
Because,
maybe because I don't know anything about kill team other than, I know the boxes,
yep.
I know the kits, um, and I thought, has there been a points update? Like,
There
is the
was a
space
balance update, but it did nothing to the Space Marines. It didn't impact them. It didn't nerf
it
them in
didn't
any way or
in
anything
any
like
way,
that.
shape, or form? Yeah.
There was some nerfs to the other teams, a little
Mhm.
bit, but no, I just wanted to play something different, and
You
clearly I
just
hate myself. So
Yeah. No, and I,
I,
I I get the boredom and I get the itch of like, well, I've got all these other ones and I'd really like to take them for a spin. But tournaments are not the
yeah, and
time to
this
do
is
it.
where I really sit back and I think I contemplate, and I was thinking this just last night and a little bit this morning. Do I really suck at 40K, or
Mm.
do I just make poor decisions when it comes into tournament time and mid game? Because I seem to do not too bad on some things, but
Casual games
then I just kind of shit the bed
at
on other
tournaments.
parts. Yeah,
Well, I mean, it could be a
like
like
in my
I'm
own head
terrible at
for sure.
40K. Like I had my first 40K league game yesterday and made some tactical errors and lost the game. Uh, but that's a conversation for another time. So like I like you, I struggle with list building. I struggle with I mean I don't get practice
Yeah.
rounds in, so there's always that issue. I was getting better when I was running Hypercrypt.
Hmm.
At least in terms of my scores were better. I was still losing games and only winning like one of three at a tournament, that kind of thing. But my scores were much higher. So I was at least doing better
Hmm.
overall that way. I saw an uptick by sticking to the one thing. Um, so I don't, I think what you and I suffer from is like a lack of practice, sometimes a lack of faction focus.
Yeah. Faction focus is 100%
Faction
my problem.
focus is a huge problem. Uh, yeah, I think those two things, and we're not meta chasers. And
No.
I, for one, I'm not, you know, so I'm playing Black Templars right now for this 40K league. Went back to them. I went back to them because they're fully painted.
Yep.
I've got 2,000 points fully painted. They don't have a codex out yet, so it's something to look forward to. So there
Hmm.
might be some variety in the future with that list. So I'm like, that'll be fun to play. I threw a Knight Lancer into the list because again, it's a heresy model I bought. I can play in 40K. It's painted.
Right.
Just uh, but I'm kind of sticking with Dave's advice from the other guys of like,
Yep.
kind of picking one army, and that's what I'm going to play for this league. And I think that'll be the 40K army I play probably for the rest of this year, is
Right.
I think I'll just stick with Black Templars. But I'm not committing to buying another Primaris Crusader squad. You know what I mean? I'm
Yep.
not going to, if the meta switches to, I mean, Horde is part of their thing anyway, but
Hmm.
I'm not going out and buying another box of Sword Brethren. I'm
Yep.
not adding to that. You and I aren't in that
And that was the problem
cash
that
for
I was getting
points
into.
phase,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because it's impossible to keep up, man. Like it's
Yep.
just so I like to play with what I've got and fine tune, like dig through the old Space Marine models that aren't painted yet and be like, hey, you know what? Let's paint these up as Black Templars and then we'll add them to lists and see how they do.
And that's what I'm liking about Kill Team is that there isn't. there is a meta to it, but there isn't
Mm,
like the, oh, I can throw this guy into my list and I can throw this unit in
yeah.
and that kind of thing. You're
All of a
like,
sudden, this unit's hot, so it's like run out and buy that unit,
yeah,
paint up five, 10 of them, and then throw them on the list. That
it,
doesn't
it's
apply to Kill
it doesn't
Team.
apply. It's
Yeah.
I won't say it's balanced, but
I
it's
was gonna
it's
ask that. I
it's
was gonna
more
ask if Kill
controlled.
Team is balanced.
I mean, there are still teams that have those gotcha feel bad moments, and
Mm.
that's why I didn't want to play Mandrakes.
Oh.
Um, because
Oh, don't make me sick.
because
This,
it's one of those things where
you could have used that advantage.
that's the thing. But again, I'm not the, and this is
No,
what I'm
you're
slowly
funny.
realizing is that I'm not the, as you said, I'm not the meta chaser. I'm not that kind of thing.
Mm.
I enter the tournaments to play the games and have fun.
Yeah.
I'm not there to try and, which sounds so stupid, to try and win the tournament.
Yeah, no,
Because if
fair
I
enough.
was, I would be chasing it. I would be building a list specifically with this is the thing
You
that
would
you
have gotten
cannot beat.
Nemesis Claw, you'd have painted it up, you'd have gotten practice games in with it.
Yeah, I
You'd
would
have
have done
probably
all these
watched
kind of
videos on
things.
strategies and all that other kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm not doing that kind of thing. I'm picking the
Mm.
teams where I was like, okay, I did look at the tier list to be like, I want to play the Hearthkin Salvagers. How bad are they?
Yeah, right.
And then it's like, okay, competitively, they're not that bad. Perfect. So I should have a relatively good chance of playing some games and having some fun,
Right.
and that kind of thing. So that's what I took into the tournament. I took in Hearthkin Salvagers.
Hmm.
So as I said, they have 2 activation points, 8 wounds each, 3 up saves. So they're
Okay.
tanky little guys. They've only got a 5-inch movement versus a 6-inch on a Space Marine. So a little bit
And a
less.
lot, Space Marines have like 15 wounds,
They
don't
have
they?
14 wounds.
Yeah, so
So
they're
you've
a
got a
lot
good,
weaker.
they're a
I
lot
was
weaker,
just
but they're tough because they've got the 3-up save.
I was thumbing through the app while we were talking here.
Hmm.
Uh, for the record, GW, the Kill Team app is absolute dog shit.
It's terrible.
It is awful. This
It
is
is why I
a
recommend using the Battle Kit app online. It can actually be generated as an app on your phone, and it
for
has
Android users or
for iOS. It's
iOS as
anybody
well.
that's got, just go into your browser and I think it's Kill Team 3 or Kill Battle Kit 3.
Hmm.
It'll take you to the website. It's got all the rules. It's
Hmm.
got all of the factions.
Hmm.
Um, and if you don't know what a weapon profile means, you just tap on it and it tells you what it means.
Cool.
It's a much, much, much better app than
Yeah,
whatever GW's put out.
that app is abysmal. Like it's
It's
not.
really bad.
I just
That's why it's free.
downloaded it and deleted it as we were speaking. Yeah, but the AOS app's free. The 40K app's free before the like Battletome
Paywalls.
paywalls. But you know what I mean. If you don't have, if your faction doesn't have a codex out yet, it's still free, and all the
Yeah.
keyword stuff is there. You know, you don't know what Melta 2 is, you just press it and it
Yeah.
tells you. So I other than the paywall, those are good apps. They're easy
Yes,
to
they're
use.
usable apps. Yeah, the Kill Team app itself is pretty
Yeah.
terrible.
So come on, smarten up, Games Workshop. You know how to do an app right.
Yeah.
So just get it done. Okay.
So I took
S-
Salvagers into the tournament.
Now, for our listeners that are Kill Team players, why don't you walk us through that list of yours? Because there
So
is some customization to the
there
list,
was
right?
some customization. So
Okay.
I took the Thane with a plasma weapon, um, uh, like a plasma axe for his
Hmm.
melee, as well as the plasma pistol, I believe it was. I took the jump pack salvager.
Okay.
I took the lugger, which was really cool because he gives you a free activation, sorry, a free action on a marker type of thing,
Hmm.
and one extra equipment that you can take with your team. I took the medic. I took 3 of the gunners that you're allowed to take. So you're allowed to take 3 of the heavy gunners, which was the rotary cannon, the
Hmm.
beamer, and I took the Magna Rail
Okay.
just to try and give some high damage output. Um, I took I believe it was the Dozer, which is kind of the melee focused guy.
Okay.
Um, so how many is that? That is the six. And then I took I believe the Cognitar, and that might be it. I'm trying to think if I'm missing one other model. I took the 10 of them, so I might have thrown in the locator as well, the Cognitar and the locator, or the Kinlink, sorry.
Hmm.
And that would be my list. So again, I was going into this kind of with a list in mind, not necessarily looking at, okay, what was my opponent's list and that
Hmm.
kind of thing. Um, I found since playing this one that I'm not a big fan of the dozer. And that might be because I'm an idiot, but I
Hmm.
don't find his damage output to be that great. He does have this cool ability where he can kind of rush in, push somebody back up to 3 inches, and then fight somebody else. Very kind of situational specific,
Hmm.
but his damage output, whether you roll a crit or a regular, is only 4 wounds
Hmm.
in melee. And the way melee works is I hit you, you hit me, I hit you back, you hit me back type of thing. It's a bit of a back and forth
Okay.
until all successful kind of things have been hit, which sounds great, except he's only doing 4 damage into some people that can do higher than that, and he's only got 8 wounds. He does
Right.
have the ability to still do one last attack on death,
Hmm.
but it's not always
It's
killing
swingy.
another model. It's not, yeah.
Hmm.
Sometimes he can just get knocked out. So I haven't been super impressed with him, and I might be playing him wrong. So if anybody has any advice on that, by all means, throw it into the comments.
Hmm.
Um, so that was kind of the list that I went into. And the way the tournament was set up was they have the 3 terrain maps set up. Um, and that would be Volcus, which is kind of the new cityscape type of terrain that's out there.
Okay.
There's Gallowdark, which is basically boarding
Boarding
actions.
patrol or yeah, boarding actions. Yep.
And then they have one called Beta Decima, which is basically you on like this water
Platforms.
platform type of thing. I think just about everybody that plays it hates that map.
So I've heard that and I've read that online is like everyone is like if it's beta to decima, it's like
It's the
no one
worst.
likes it. No one
It's
likes it.
even if you've got line of sight over people, they've got this rule where if it's more than 4 inches into this watery zone, your line
Hmm.
of sight's gone.
Right.
So you could see a guy clear on the other side of the map, be like, my weapon has unlimited range, so
Hmm.
range is not an issue on this, but because it's traveling more than 4 inches over this hazardous terrain, water, whatever the hell it is, I no longer have a shot.
Okay. So
It's
round one, who did you play against? What
round
what
one.
what map was it on?
It was a Volcus map,
Okay.
and I played into a Gene Stealer called Wormblade list.
Okay. And then what's
Um,
the mission?
So the mission was randomized, and I tried to look it up on BCP because I
Okay.
didn't write them down. It was randomized per map. And the way that Kill Team works is you've got a critical op, which is basically your primary mission
Hmm.
rule, and then you select a tactical op, attack op, and it's
Okay.
basically your secondary for the entire game. And then you have a kill count, so how many guys you actually kill of the opponent. So those are kind of like your 3 areas that you score points on,
Okay.
type of thing. Um, And this one was an interesting one. I mean, he scored a perfect game. I scored 11 points on this. He scored 21. I scored 11. Um, but what it was the thing that I found challenging into this army was he was able to get some good line of sight on getting a sniper up onto an area, which was kind of hard to get around. But his guys can activate, so go on to an like a ready state activation,
Okay.
do whatever they need to do, and then go back on a conceal, which means they're no longer a valid target. So even if I could see them, but they're on a conceal, I can't actually shoot at them because then they're obscured and all sorts of different things.
Right.
So it's one of these tricky kind of things of they can jump out and do their shooting action, then all of a sudden I can't do anything to them in response. Um, So this was, and it wasn't necessarily, I don't think I necessarily played everything wrong, but there was a couple critical mistakes that I made where I didn't move guys where I should have, or I didn't pick my primary targets, right at all times, it probably would have closed the gap on the scoring. Um, but it kind of was what it was.
Hmm.
It was a really tricky army. I think um, this guy that I played into did really well in the tournament. I think he came in the top five type of thing.
Okay.
So his army was really good. And this is one of those ones where they say Wormblade isn't as good in the tier lists. Um, just like the guy that came in first is playing Pathfinders, which I think on which is Tau,
Okay.
which is most people's tier list is in like the D list,
The bottom,
the bottom, and he won the tournament.
and he won the tournament. Yeah, so sounds like the game's balanced in the right hands.
Yeah. So it's entirely up to you to just how well your team is going to be
Hmm.
type of thing.
And sometimes path to victory matters, right?
Yeah.
Like going into the right opponent, the right list can make a difference.
Yeah. So that was my first one. It was a loss, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take some learnings from this one and go into my second round. My second game, played into the Scout Squad Space Marines on
Hmm.
Gallo Dark, um, and I was doing really, really well on this one. Oh, one of the other things is when you're playing Kill Team, you decide at the end of the game which one of those like kill the number of guys I kill, the tactical op or the critical op, I'm going to get my bonus points from to help kind of round you out. So it's one of these things where you get a bonus point multiplier basically, depending on which one you said was the one thing I was going to focus on for the game.
You
So
get
it's,
to choose that at the end of the
you
game?
choose it at the beginning of the game and you don't
Okay.
show anybody. And then at the end, you kind of flip your card over and you say what your one was. Um, And so whether it was the critical ops, so whether it was the mission rule, whether it was your
Hmm.
secondary, or whether it was your kill count,
Right.
basically. This was important because I went into the scout squad and I decided that my tactical op was going to be the one that gave me my bonus points. My tactical op that I picked my secondary was confirmed kill, which is every time I kill a guy, it drops a marker.
Hmm.
I had misread the rule that I have to then have one of my guys in control range of that marker to score the points for having killed that guy. And on a 5-inch movement, it's a lot harder for my little dwarf legs
Yeah.
to get over to those kind of things when I'm shooting at range.
Hmm.
So even though I was wiping out the scout squad, I was
Killing
picking
lots of
them off.
guys.
I
Yeah.
wasn't able to get to my markers.
Oh, right. Yeah. Classic move on our part.
Classic move,
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
understanding a simple rule.
Yep. Like, primaries being a thing in a 40K game. Who knew?
Who knew?
Who
Who
knew?
knew scoring points was the way to win?
Came as a complete surprise to me. Yeah, go on.
So in this one, I scored. It was a 7-10. It was a low scoring game, but
Mm.
it was really the tack op which did me in because I was scoring on the crit op. I was like on the primary mission rule. I was scoring on the
Everything
killing.
else
I
was
was
going
doing
well.
well. I just didn't do well
So,
on that one.
if you could have rewound the clock, were you in a position where you could have had guys
I could have baited them into rooms more and then
and then
been
been
in the
on those
same room as
markers?
them and then been able to move on to the marker to make sure I was getting that point type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So
because
that
I
was
was able to see some of his guys through the map and I was like, oh, you opened that door. Thank you very much. I'm going to shoot the
mhm.
hell out of you and kill you. And I did. And then it's like, oh shit, that now kill marker's on the other side of that door on the other side of the map.
And
How
you
the
can't
hell am I going to get there?
yeah, and you don't have the action points, I take it, to like run there.
Not to get there in time. I've
Yeah.
got 5-inch movement. You play 4 rounds in Kill Team,
Hmm.
so you don't play
Hmm.
five, you only play four.
Right.
And really your first turn is usually a staging turn where everybody's moving into positions where
Sure.
you're going to be doing some stuff. By and large, kind of a turn one is really staging. So you're really playing 2 to 3 turns
Hmm.
of actual combat.
Hmm.
Um, so that was a lesson learned there. And then isn't my third game into Angels of Death, a
Yeah.
team that I had been playing the entire
The
tournament or
entire
the entire
time
league.
you knew backwards and
I
forwards.
knew exactly what it could do. I knew how to handle it.
And you're playing it on the worst map
I'm
this
playing
time?
it. No, this time I went back to a Volcus map. I got lucky. I didn't have to play on Beta Decima once during the
Oh, that was
tournament.
random.
It was
Okay, it wasn't
random.
like round one, everyone's playing this. Okay,
No, I got lucky. The table I was at was back on Volcus, so I was
right.
happy to play that.
Hmm.
Side note, Sam played a game. He never left the table he started at. He
He just
played on
sat there.
Gallo
He's like,
Dark
I'm
the
on table
entire
seven
league,
all day.
all day, playing the one mission rule, playing everything.
Wow.
So he was like, I never want to see Gallo Dark again for a long time
Oh
because
God. He was just
he
bored to
got
death of
stuck
it.
on it. But I
All right.
played into the Space Marines on Volcus. This one was a lot closer. I was doing a lot more of my trading off of things. The one downside was the way that the map was set up, he
Hmm.
was able to get his sniper into a position where he could see the middle objective on the board
Mm.
at all times. So
And
I
I
was
take it that
never,
sniper was too far for you to engage them.
there was nothing I could do to get at him. It was so close to his deployment zone. It was in terrain. I would have to climb walls and then climb up and get to him type of thing. And I wouldn't be able to get there in time to
Mm.
actually hurt him or do damage to him because he was always able to see my guys before they could get there, type of thing. So he had perfect line of sight on things. So I had to try and bait and play him to kind of get
Hmm.
guys out, or to get. I was trying to trade off on guys so I could move other guys up, type of thing. So waste a
Sure.
shot over here and I can move this guy. So this game was a 15 to 19 kind of score. So a really close game in
Hmm.
this one. And it literally came down to I think it was the crit op which won him the game because he was able to get into that middle position, obviously, and keep activating it for points or picking it up or whatever he had to do. And my guys couldn't get there to turn it off or to activate it themselves.
Right.
So he was always able to do that. But I think I got him down to, I think he had one model left. Like I had wiped out his entire team except for that one sniper that I just couldn't get at.
And what was your critical op or
My tac op again was the confirmed kill. So this one I was able to move up and get some of those ones a
okay,
little bit
good.
easier. But it literally came down to he just scored the extra, and I think he had crit op as his
As his
primary.
thing and
So he got
his
the extra points for it. So that's how he got 19 versus my 15.
oh man.
So
C'est la
that's
vie.
that's
That's
the
how it
way it
rolls.
goes.
That's the way it
That's just
goes.
how it goes.
How did
Um,
Sam do? What
Sam
did
won one of his games, so
okay, so
he came in higher than I did in the tournament.
mhm.
He placed, I think, eighth overall in the entire league.
Okay.
So he did
Nice.
really well. Um, yeah,
He
um,
played Kroot
he
for
played the
this.
Kroot army.
Okay.
He played into, I'm trying to think of what ones I think he played into an Eldari list. He played into a chaos list.
Hmm.
A I believe it was Blooded was one of the ones he played into, which was the one he won against. And I can't remember his second.
And where did he finish in the tournament?
In the tournament, let me see if I can look that up quickly for a second. Uh, that's that one. Tournament last placings. Sam came in 15th.
Oh, cool.
15 out of 18.
That was my next question was going to be how many players total for this tournament.
Yeah.
Is Critical Hit doing like a monthly kill team one, kind of like how they do
They're
40K or?
they're doing um they're doing a league, and I think the next tournament is March for Kill Team.
Okay. Okay, so the kind of doing because you've had your first league game
I've
since
had
the
my first
tournament.
league game of season two just
Okay.
yesterday. I lost by
So
I think
who
it was 3 points into Tempest Aquilons,
uh
which are
oh,
the kind
that's
of
the
like the
new
jump pack guard
jump
guys.
pack guard guys, right? And what army you're playing?
I'm playing my
Salvagers?
salvagers. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
you're
sticking
sticking
with
with them?
my salvagers even into the tournament. I will be sticking with
Yeah, we'll
salvagers.
see. We'll see. We'll see. You'll
Um,
get bored of them after the 6 games
I'm
or
really enjoying them. They're a lot
are
of
you?
fun. It's just I have to figure out what are all the synergies of what they can do. So
Right.
one guy can drop a marker that gives people buffs on either the defense or their attacks. I got to be smarter about placing that and actually fucking using it.
Hmm.
The that was one of the things in my first list um, uh, against the Wormblade, against the GSC.
Hmm.
Didn't I forget to use any of my grudge tokens?
Yeah, of course you did. Because
The core mechanic of my team. Why would I use that?
well, you went into a tournament with a an army that you only played 2 practice games at
Yeah.
home with. And you and Sam were presumably both playing new armies in those
Yes.
practice games.
Yes.
So it's not like there was anyone with familiarity there to be like, oh, don't forget there's this,
Yeah.
or wouldn't you pop this here? And
Yeah. So anyway, that's been Kill Team. It is my new favorite way of playing. It's been a lot of fun.
then how did sorry, in your league game yesterday, how'd that go?
It went really well.
Hmm.
It was really good. My my secondary got shut off by the way that his team can deploy. His team can
Okay.
place beacons, and then I was using my secondary was keep your opponent out of your deployment zone.
Hmm.
But his guys were able to deploy with a beacon and basically deep strike into my zone. And then once they were there, I couldn't get rid of them because they
Right.
were hiding behind terrain. So his guys that did that ultimately did nothing in the game because they were just there, but they shut off my secondary scoring for the entire
So
thing.
that way he was able to secure
Yeah,
victory that way.
yeah. Because again, it was one of those things where we were trading off models and I was killing off some of his guys and things like that.
Hmm.
But he shut off my secondary scoring.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So
So you've got that Kill Team League on the go.
yeah, yeah. And it's a
How
game I think every 2 weeks roughly. So that's
you have to get a game in every 2 weeks. That's pretty good.
yeah,
And then tournament scheduled for it for March.
yeah.
Now you have a 40K tournament coming up or no?
I don't know. There was one that was going to be coming up in Lindsay,
Hmm.
but some circumstances arose where they had to cancel the actual tournament.
And
Something came
then
up.
are you looking at doing one at Critical Hit or anything anytime
I'm
soon
trying to
or
decide if I'm going to be playing I might just try and get a pickup game of 40K in as
mm,
opposed to a league game or a tournament or anything like that.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So that is where you're at.
that is where I'm at, and that is Kill Team, and that is my new favorite thing right now, even though I'm no better at it than I am at 40K. But it's
Well,
still fun,
it's still fun and you're still in the consolation league.
and I'm
So
firmly planted in the constellation.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, even if you start winning tournaments, you'll still be in the consolation league.
Thank you.
There's no one's getting kicked out just because they all of a sudden get good at this.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but just in case it does. Um, we'll throw a link to that battle tactic website
Yeah, I'll throw
in the
that in the
description.
description.
For those who want to take a look at that, and thank everyone for listening. We look forward to hearing more about Scott's Kill Team progress in
Hmm.
future episodes.
I'm looking forward to hearing about your 40K league and how that's going to go. So,
It's gonna
teaser
go
for
as
the next episode.
it's gonna go as you expect.
All right. We'll catch you guys next time.
See you next time.